Imagine waking up every day to the same routine, feeling like you're stuck in a never-ending loop. You get up, go to work, come home, repeat. At first, it's comfortable, but over time, you start noticing something. Opportunities slipping away. New ideas, new technologies, new ways of living. Everything seems to be passing you by while you're glued to your routine. This is where the story of Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson comes in. The book doesn't just talk about change. It dives into the deep, often uncomfortable world of adapting when life shifts unexpectedly. And trust me, understanding these lessons could change everything. Now, let's be real, we've all been there. It's easy to resist change. We tell ourselves, I'm doing just fine. Or, this is how things are done around here. But here's the thing. The world doesn't stop changing just because we're comfortable. And in the process, we end up missing out on big opportunities. Whether it's a career advancement, a new relationship, or personal growth that we didn't even know we needed. But what if, instead of resisting change, we learned how to embrace it? What if we could look at the inevitable chaos of life and say, I got this? That's the heart of Johnson's story. He shows us how adapting to change isn't just about surviving. It's about thriving. So here's the big question. What if the key to transforming your career, your relationships, and your life lies in the way you respond to change? Sounds like a game changer, right? That's what we're diving into today. Through the lens of Who Moved My Cheese, we'll explore the deep, universal truth that the real secret to success is being adaptable, aware, and ready to act when life gets unpredictable. We'll break it all down with stories, real-life examples, and reflections that'll have you looking at your own life and thinking, what cheese am I chasing? Before we go deeper, though, let me ask you something. Have you ever stuck with something just because it was familiar, even though you knew it wasn't working anymore? You know, that job that's dragging you down, or the habit that you've been holding on to for years, but it's not serving you anymore. Well, that's exactly the kind of thing Who Moved My Cheese teaches us to let go of. And trust me, once you get the hang of this, you'll start seeing opportunities in places you never thought to look before. But here's the kicker. The journey isn't always smooth. It's not just about sitting back and waiting for things to fall into place. You've got to learn how to pivot, how to embrace uncertainty, and how to stay open when life hands you a curveball. This book, it's your guide to doing all of that. But here's the thing, don't expect quick fixes. Instead, we're going to explore why embracing change is a mindset, not just a reaction. Get ready for some aha moments, because once you start applying these principles, you'll begin seeing change in a whole new light. So stick around, because what you're about to learn could change the way you approach life's maze forever. And just when you think you have it all figured out, we're going to turn the page and dive even deeper. Ready? Let's go. #### Chapter 1. Decoding the cheese and the maze. Let's start by diving deeper into the heart of Who Moved My Cheese, by breaking down the parable itself. At first glance, it might seem like just a simple story of 4 characters in a maze looking for cheese. But, like so many fables, its simplicity hides profound truths about human behavior and the way we face change in our lives. In the story, we meet 4 characters: Sniff, Scurry, Hem, and Haw. Each of them represents a different way people react to change. Sniff is quick to sense change, always on the lookout for the next opportunity, while Scurry is action-oriented, moving fast to find new solutions without overthinking. Then we have Hem, the character who resists change, clinging desperately to the comfort of what he knows, unwilling to adapt when things go wrong. Finally, there's Haw, who, although initially fearful of change, learns to adapt, embracing new opportunities as they come. Now, let's break down the metaphors behind these characters. The cheese in the story represents the things we value the most: our goals, desires, and dreams. For some, it's career success. For others, it might be a happy family, financial security, or even personal fulfillment. Whatever it is that drives you, that's your cheese. But here's the catch. Life doesn't always hand us our cheese in an easy, predictable way. It's hidden in a maze, a metaphor for the challenges, complexities, and uncertainties we face while trying to achieve our goals. Sometimes, the cheese is right in front of us, but other times, we need to navigate through obstacles, face difficult choices, and make adjustments along the way. Now, think about the maze. The maze isn't just a physical space. It's the environment we live in, filled with hurdles that often seem impossible to overcome. The maze represents the struggles we face daily in our careers, relationships, health, and personal growth. It's where life's unpredictability lurks, constantly shifting the walls, moving the cheese, and throwing us off course when we least expect it. And here's the most crucial part. The maze doesn't just challenge us externally, it also tests us internally. How do we handle setbacks? How do we react when our cheese is moved, or worse, taken away? To make this clearer, let me tell you a story. Meet Emma, an entrepreneur in her late 30s who had been running a local bookstore for over a decade. For years, she prided herself on sticking to what worked. She had her loyal customers, a steady supply of books, and the kind of business model that felt safe. She didn't need to change anything, at least that's what she thought. But then online bookstores started to take off, and technology rapidly changed the way people shopped for books. Emma's customers started buying from websites that offered faster delivery, lower prices, and a wider selection. Despite seeing the shift, Emma held on to her outdated way of doing things. She resisted embracing online sales, digital marketing, and e-commerce, thinking that it would never work for her. She was hem. On the other side of town was Ben, a fellow entrepreneur who owned a similar bookstore. But Ben did something different. He noticed the industry was evolving and immediately adapted. He pivoted quickly, setting up an online platform, offering free shipping, and even started hosting virtual book clubs to build an online community. Ben was like Sniff and Scurry. He didn't waste time resisting change. Instead, he acted swiftly, making adjustments to his business model that allowed him to thrive. While Emma struggled to keep up, Ben expanded his reach and saw his business grow even more. The maze of challenges had changed, but Ben had adapted. He understood that the cheese wasn't static, it could move at any time, and he needed to move with it. What's important to notice here is that Ben didn't just react to change. He anticipated it. That's the key takeaway. The maze of life will always be full of challenges, and the cheese will often move when we least expect it. But it's our ability to adapt, just like Ben, that sets us apart. The real question is, are you more like Emma, stuck in the past, or like Ben, moving with the times? The characters of Sniff, Scurry, Hem, and Haw show us that our success isn't just about chasing after the cheese, but about how we react when things change. It's about having the courage to leave the safety of what we know and venture into the unknown. Sure, it's scary at first, but as Haw learned in the story, it's when we embrace change that we start to discover new and unexpected opportunities. This is where personal growth happens. What if you could be like Ben? What if you could learn to embrace change, adapt quickly, and even thrive in the face of uncertainty? The maze of life doesn't have to be something that holds you back. It can be something that propels you forward if you know how to navigate it. And this is where the lessons from Who Moved My Cheese can truly change your perspective. The maze is going to continue shifting, the cheese will keep moving, and the challenges won't stop coming. But how you respond to those challenges, whether you resist or adapt, is what will determine whether you succeed or fail. The choice is yours. So, now that we've broken down the basics, let's take a deeper dive into how the maze and the cheese relate to your own life. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a situation, refusing to change because it felt safe? Or maybe you've watched someone else adapt and thrive while you stayed in your comfort zone. In the next part, we're going to explore exactly why some people resist change and how you can train yourself to be more like Sniff and Scurry, quick to adapt and ready for whatever comes next. But before we get there, think about this. What would happen if you let go of the fear of change? If you stopped waiting for things to go back to the way they were and started looking for new opportunities instead? Would you be able to leave the maze behind and discover a new path to your cheese? Keep that question in mind as we move forward, because what you'll learn next could be the key to unlocking your own success. ###Chapter 2. The nature of change is one of those things that we all know is coming, but we often don't prepare for it as we should. Think about it. Nothing in life is permanent. People, trends, technology, even whole civilizations, everything evolves over time. The world around us is constantly in flux, And yet, so many of us resist that very force. We fight it, deny it, and often find ourselves stuck when things inevitably shift. Why is change so inevitable, though? Take a moment to think about the biggest changes in history. From the fall of empires to the rise of the internet, from the Industrial Revolution to the digital age, our world has always been in a state of flux. The technology we use, the way we communicate, the way we work, everything has evolved. And it's not just a pattern in the big picture. It happens on a much more personal level, too. Our bodies change, our minds change, and our circumstances constantly shift. Even in nature, nothing stays the same for long. A forest grows, dies, and regenerates. Rivers change their course over time. Nothing stays static. But even though we know this to be true, why is it so hard to accept change when it comes knocking at our door? Why do we resist? The answer lies in the nature of our human psychology. Change often feels like a loss. When we face the unknown, there's an underlying fear that what we have will be taken away, replaced with something we can't control. This fear makes it difficult to embrace change, and it's easy to fall into the trap of denial, hoping that if we ignore it, it will simply go away. But it doesn't work that way. Let's take a look at a story to illustrate this resistance. Meet Mr. Thompson, a seasoned teacher who had been teaching at the same high school for over 30 years. He had a comfortable routine, chalkboards, textbooks, and the same lectures year after year. He was comfortable in his ways, having developed a strong rapport with his students, and his classroom was a well-oiled machine. But as technology started creeping into classrooms, interactive whiteboards, online learning platforms, and digital tools, Mr. Thompson resisted. He wasn't interested in learning how to use these new tools. "It's just a fad," he would say, dismissing the changes with a wave of his hand. Why fix something that isn't broken? On the other hand, there was Mrs. Adams, another teacher at the same school, but she had a different approach. She saw the new technology as an opportunity, not a threat. She enrolled in workshops, learned how to use the interactive whiteboard, and slowly started incorporating digital resources into her lessons. Her students were more engaged, able to collaborate online, and had access to a world of resources they never had before. Over time, Mrs. Adams became known as the tech-savvy teacher, and her students' test scores improved. Mr. Thompson's classroom, however, began to feel outdated. The students who were used to having technology at their fingertips in other areas of their lives were disengaged and bored with his methods. Slowly, Mr. Thompson's classes started to fall behind, and while Mrs. Adams thrived, he struggled to keep up. This story isn't just about technology. It's a metaphor for the way we respond to change in general. The difference between Mr. Thompson and Mrs. Adams wasn't just about tech skills. It was about mindset. Mrs. Adams embraced the change with curiosity, ready to learn and adapt, while Mr. Thompson resisted it, stuck in the past, afraid of what he might lose. In life, when we resist change, we often find ourselves left behind. We cling to what's familiar, even if it no longer serves us, because we're afraid of the uncertainty that comes with stepping into the unknown. Now, let's flip the narrative. Let's think about those who embrace change. They're the ones who see the world shifting and decide to jump in, learning, adapting, and growing. They understand that change, though uncomfortable, is where the opportunities lie. Just like Mrs. Adams, they realize that the cheese isn't static. It moves, and the only way to find it is to keep moving. But why do some people accept change while others resist it? The answer lies in the psychological patterns that we develop over time. People who are open to change tend to have a growth mindset. They're curious about the future and view challenges as opportunities to learn. They don't see failure as a defeat but as a lesson. On the other hand, those who resist change often have a fixed mindset. They fear failure, struggle with uncertainty, and feel threatened by anything that disrupts their routine. The fear of the unknown holds them back from taking action and seeking new possibilities. One powerful example of this is the evolution of the workplace. Just a few decades ago, many jobs were considered secure. People worked in the same industry for their entire careers, often retiring with pensions and long-term benefits. But that world is gone. Today, change is constant. Industries rise and fall, Technology disrupts everything, and new opportunities pop up where we least expect them. But people who cling to the idea of job security, who resist the changing landscape of work, find themselves left behind as the world moves forward without them. Think about the impact of automation, for example. Many manufacturing jobs have been replaced by machines, but this hasn't necessarily meant the end of employment. It has, however, meant that people need to adapt. Some workers have embraced this change, learning new skills in tech and programming, and finding new opportunities in emerging industries. Others, however, have resisted, holding on to outdated skill sets, refusing to evolve with the times. The difference between these two groups is their willingness to accept the changing landscape and adapt accordingly. But here's the catch. Stagnation isn't just uncomfortable. It comes with a cost. It means missing out on new opportunities. It means being stuck in an endless cycle, watching others move ahead while you remain stationary. This is why it's crucial to develop a mindset of flexibility and adaptability. Because if you don't, you risk finding yourself in a situation where your cheese is moved, and you have no idea how to find it again. Think about it. What would happen if you chose to embrace change instead of fearing it? What if, like Mrs. Adams, you could see every shift as an opportunity to grow, learn, and evolve? Life would look entirely different, wouldn't it? Instead of feeling stuck in a maze of uncertainty, you'd be navigating it with confidence, always moving toward new opportunities, constantly growing and expanding your possibilities. In the next section, we're going to explore how the people who embrace change create success, not by waiting for life to hand them their cheese, but by constantly searching for it, even when they don't know exactly where it is. They take action, they adapt, they thrive, and so can you. All it takes is the willingness to leave your comfort zone behind and step into the unknown. Are you ready? Let's find out together. #### Chapter 3. The 4 archetypes. Now that we've explored the inevitable nature of change and the reasons behind our resistance to it, it's time to dig into the real meat of who moved my cheese. The 4 archetypes. These characters represent the different ways people respond to change, and by understanding them, you'll gain insight into your own behavior and the ways you can improve. Let's take a closer look at each one. Sniff and Scurry are the first pair of characters we meet in the maze. They're small mice, but don't let their size fool you. These two embody the proactive, instinct-driven approach to change. When the cheese is moved, Sniff and Scurry don't waste any time. They don't overthink or dwell on what they've lost. Instead, they immediately begin looking for new sources of cheese. There's no fear in their approach, no hesitation. They're driven by the simple goal of finding food, and they know that to do that, they need to keep moving, exploring, and adapting. What's interesting about Sniff and Scurry is that they don't get bogged down by emotions or attachments. When they find a new spot of cheese, they're not concerned about whether it's the same kind of cheese they had before. They're simply focused on one thing: action. They embody flexibility and decisiveness in the face of change. This is a mindset that many of us could benefit from adopting. When life throws a curveball, we can learn a lot from Sniff and Scurry's approach. Instead of wasting time lamenting the past or wondering why things went wrong, we can embrace the challenge, take action, and move forward. Then we have Hem and Haw. These two characters represent the more complex, human side of dealing with change. Hem is afraid of change. When the cheese is moved, he refuses to believe it's gone. He doesn't want to face the reality that things are different, so he stays in the same place, waiting for the cheese to return. He's resistant, paralyzed by fear and denial. His reaction is based on an attachment to the past, and he's unwilling to let go of what no longer serves him. Hem's attitude is one many of us can relate to. It's easy to stay in a situation, whether it's a job, a relationship, or a way of thinking, simply because it's familiar. The fear of stepping into the unknown can be paralyzing. But just like Hem, this resistance to change only keeps us stuck in a place where growth and opportunity are out of reach. On the other hand, we have Haw. At first, Haw shares many of the same feelings as Hem. He resists the change, feeling hopeless and confused. But unlike Hem, Haw eventually decides to embrace the change. He realizes that staying stuck is worse than moving forward, and slowly he learns to adapt. He faces his fear and starts exploring the maze, learning from each step he takes. Ha's journey is about self-awareness and the realization that resistance only holds us back. His transformation from fear to acceptance is a powerful reminder that while change can be scary, it's also where the potential for growth lies. In the story, Hem and Ha are a reflection of how many of us respond to change. Initially, we resist, we fear, we deny. But through reflection and self-awareness, we can learn to embrace change. The key takeaway here is that it's not about avoiding fear. It's about understanding it and using it as a catalyst for growth. So, now it's time for some self-reflection. Think about the last time you faced a change that you resisted. Maybe it was a shift in your career, the end of a relationship, or even a small change in your daily routine. How did you react? Were you more like Hem, resisting the change with everything you had? Or were you like Ha, initially fearful but eventually willing to adapt and find a new path? Let's pause for a moment and reflect on this. When you last resisted a necessary change, what could you have done differently? Could you have been more like Sniff and Scurry, quickly adapting and seeking new solutions? Could you have been more like Ha, facing your fear and pushing forward, even when it felt uncomfortable? Take some time to think about these questions. Reflect on how your response to change shaped the outcome of that situation. Were there opportunities you missed because you stayed stuck like Hem? Or did you find new possibilities like Ha once you let go of the fear? Now, let's break down these archetypes a bit further. By identifying which one you most resemble, you can begin to understand your natural tendencies when it comes to change. But the key is that no matter which archetype you identify with, there's always room for growth. If you're more like Hem, resisting change, it's time to start asking yourself why. What are you holding onto that's no longer serving you? What attachments do you need to release? If you're more like Ha, it's time to lean into your willingness to adapt. Embrace the discomfort, take action, and allow yourself to grow. And if you find yourself closer to Sniff and Scurry, keep nurturing your proactive, flexible approach. Continue to move forward with curiosity and confidence. There's always more cheese to find, but only if you keep exploring. As we reflect on these characters, think about how they can serve as a guide for your own life. Do you need to be more proactive like Sniff and Scurry? Do you need to stop resisting like Hem? Or do you need to push through your fear and find the courage to explore? Like Ha? Change isn't easy, but the first step is recognizing which archetype you most resemble and then taking action to evolve. If you're feeling stuck in the maze, now's the time to start making a shift. Remember, change is inevitable, and the sooner you embrace it, the sooner you'll start moving toward the new opportunities waiting for you. The next time your cheese is moved, will you be ready to act, adapt, and explore new possibilities? Or will you resist and wait for the old cheese to come back? Take a moment to reflect on this, because the answer to that question could change everything. And remember, like Ha, the more you practice embracing change, the easier it will become. Don't be afraid to take that first step toward the new maze. You might just find that it's filled with the very cheese you've been searching for all along. ####Chapter 4. Embracing the mindset of Ha. There's a powerful moment in Who Moved My Cheese? When Ha, one of the central characters, experiences a profound shift. For a long time, he was like Hem, resisting change, fearful of what the unknown might bring. But as the story unfolds, Ha reaches a turning point that changes everything. It's a moment of realization, of courage, and ultimately of growth. This moment is the crux of Ha's transformation, and it's one that can inspire all of us. Ha's journey represents a key aspect of human growth, the choice to embrace change, no matter how difficult or scary it might seem. At first, like many of us, Ha is trapped in a cycle of fear and denial. He's reluctant to move forward, to leave behind the security of what he knows. But over time, he begins to recognize that staying in one place, resisting change, only leads to stagnation. The cheese isn't coming back. The only way to move forward is to face his fear and start exploring the maze. It's in this moment of realization that Ha's mindset shifts. He understands that change, although uncomfortable, holds the potential for something greater. He doesn't wait for the cheese to come back. He takes action, steps into the unknown, and begins to look for new opportunities. This turning point in his journey isn't just about finding new cheese. It's about overcoming the fear that holds him back, about rewriting the stories he tells himself about what's possible. For many of us, this is where the real challenge lies. It's easy to feel stuck when life presents change. It's easy to resist, to wish things could stay the same. But the key to embracing change is realizing that the old stories we tell ourselves are often what keep us trapped. These stories, our inner narratives, can be limiting. They can tell us that we're not capable of change, that we can't succeed, or that it's too late to try something new. But just as Hall rewrites his own narrative, we can do the same. One of the most powerful ways to embrace change is through exploration. When we venture into the unknown, we open ourselves up to new opportunities and experiences. Change is uncomfortable, yes, but it's also a chance to learn, to grow, and to discover things about ourselves we never would have imagined. When we stay in our comfort zones, we limit our potential. But when we choose to step outside those boundaries, we give ourselves the freedom to explore new paths, find new opportunities, and create a life that's aligned with our true potential. Let's take a moment to reflect on the concept of exploration. It's not always about taking grand leaps into the unknown. It can also be about small, consistent steps. Just like Haw did, we can begin by exploring one small part of the maze at a time. We don't need to have the entire plan figured out before we start. We don't need to know exactly what the future holds. What's important is that we begin. Haw didn't wait for everything to be perfect. He simply took the first step. And that's often the hardest part. The journey toward embracing change starts with that single, brave step into the unknown. Now, let's shift gears and talk about how we can rewrite our inner narratives to embrace change. Our minds are incredibly powerful, and the stories we tell ourselves shape our reality. If we constantly tell ourselves that change is too hard or that we're not capable of handling it, we'll remain stuck in that mindset. But if we shift our thinking, if we change the way we view challenges and opportunities, we can change the trajectory of our lives. One effective way to rewrite our inner narrative is through affirmations. Affirmations are powerful statements that we repeat to ourselves, designed to reprogram our subconscious mind. When we tell ourselves that we are capable of handling change, that we have the strength to adapt, and that we are worthy of new opportunities, we begin to believe it. Over time, these affirmations can shift our mindset from one of fear and resistance to one of courage and possibility. Visualization is another powerful tool. By imagining ourselves navigating the maze of life with confidence, by picturing ourselves taking those brave steps toward new opportunities, we create a mental blueprint for success. Our minds don't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined. So when we visualize ourselves thriving in the face of change, we start to program our minds to seek out those very experiences. But perhaps the most important strategy is taking small, incremental steps. Change doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and it requires patience and persistence. Just like Haw took small steps into the maze, we can begin by making small changes in our lives. Maybe it's committing to learning a new skill, reaching out to someone we admire for advice, or taking on a project that pushes us outside our comfort zone. These small steps build momentum and create a sense of progress. They help us see that change is not only possible, it's already happening. Now, let's explore a real-life example of someone who embraced change, shifted their mindset, and transformed their life. Meet Sarah, a woman who found herself stuck in a dead-end job. For years, she had worked in the same office, performing tasks that didn't challenge her or bring her fulfillment. She felt trapped, but the idea of leaving the security of her job was terrifying. She had always told herself that it was too late to start something new, that she wasn't capable of succeeding in a new field. But one day, after reflecting on her situation, Sarah realized that staying in her current job was causing her more pain than the fear of change. She decided to take action slowly at first. She started taking online courses to learn new skills and connected with people in the industry she was interested in. It wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt and fear, but she pushed through. She used affirmations to remind herself that she was capable, and she visualized herself succeeding in her new career. Over time, those small steps paid off. Sarah eventually landed a job in her new field, one that was both challenging and fulfilling. Looking back, she realized that the turning point in her journey came when she decided to embrace change instead of resisting it. Sarah's story is a powerful reminder that change doesn't have to be a dramatic leap. It can be a series of small steps, taken with courage and determination. The most important thing is to begin, to rewrite the story you've been telling yourself and take action, even when it feels uncomfortable. As you think about your own journey, remember that you have the power to change your inner narrative. Like Haw, you can choose to face your fears, take those small steps into the unknown, and create new possibilities for your life. It won't always be easy, but the rewards of embracing change are worth it. So, the next time you face a challenge or a change in your life, ask yourself, will I be like Haw, taking action and moving forward? Or will I remain stuck, waiting for things to go back to the way they were? The choice is yours. #### Chapter 5. The Lessons of Who Moved My Cheese? In practice at its core, Who Moved My Cheese isn't just a fable about mice and humans navigating a maze. It's a profound guide to understanding how we, as individuals, leaders, and members of communities, can adapt to the constant shifts that life throws our way. Whether we're navigating a career change, shifting a personal mindset, or trying to build stronger relationships, the principles in this book can offer invaluable guidance. In this chapter, we'll explore how these lessons can be applied in various aspects of life, personal growth, business, and relationships. Let's start with the concept of personal growth. Life is full of transitions, and many of them come without warning. One day, you're comfortable in your routine, and the next, something changes, maybe a job loss, a breakup, or a health scare. These kinds of major life changes can feel overwhelming, and it's natural to resist at first. But what if, instead of resisting change, we approached it with the same mindset as Sniff and Scurry, the two mice who never hesitated to explore new paths when the cheese was moved? Think about your own life. Have you ever experienced a moment of transition, whether it was a career change, a relationship shift, or a personal reinvention? How did you react? Did you embrace the change or resist it? Many of us, like Hem, are often paralyzed by fear when faced with the unknown. But just like Haw, we have the ability to rewrite our narrative. Instead of seeing change as something to fear, we can view it as an opportunity to grow, explore, and find new sources of fulfillment. Take, for example, someone who decided to change careers later in life. The initial fear and doubt can be overwhelming. What if I fail? What if I'm too old to start something new? But just like Haw, who eventually found the courage to step out into the maze, this person can start small. They can research new fields, take courses, and begin networking with others who have made similar transitions. Over time, they'll gain confidence, just as Haw did, and discover that embracing change is the key to unlocking new growth and opportunities. This same principle applies to personal reinvention. When we allow ourselves to embrace change, we open ourselves to new possibilities. Whether it's adopting a healthier lifestyle, learning a new skill, or rethinking how we approach our work and personal lives, embracing change means giving ourselves permission to evolve. The lessons from the maze teach us that we don't have to stay stuck in old patterns or ways of thinking. Change is an essential part of growth, and the sooner we accept that, the sooner we can begin to experience the transformative power of it. Now, let's shift our focus to the world of business. Businesses, just like individuals, must learn to adapt in order to thrive. In today's fast-paced world, the marketplace is constantly shifting. Consumer preferences change, new technologies emerge, and global events can disrupt entire industries. Companies that resist these changes often find themselves left behind, while those that embrace innovation can find new opportunities for success. A prime example of a company that embraced change and thrived is Apple. In the early 2000s, Apple was struggling. The tech industry was rapidly changing, and Apple was losing market share to companies like Microsoft and Dell. But Apple didn't resist these changes. Instead, it embraced them. Under the leadership of Steve Jobs, Apple reinvented itself. The company shifted its focus from personal computers to consumer electronics, launching the iPod, iPhone, and iPad, revolutionizing the tech industry in the process. Apple's success didn't happen overnight, but it was the result of a company that, much like Sniff and Scurry, understood the need to move with the times and explore new paths. Instead of clinging to outdated business models or products, Apple looked for new opportunities, constantly innovating and evolving. Today, Apple is one of the most successful and influential companies in the world, and its ability to adapt to market changes is a testament to the power of embracing change. On the other hand, there are companies that failed because they didn't adapt to change. Take Kodak, for instance. In the 1990s, Kodak was a giant in the photography industry, dominating the market with its film products. However, when digital photography began to emerge, Kodak was slow to embrace the new technology. The company continued to focus on its film products, resisting the shift toward digital, and by the time it finally recognized the importance of digital cameras, it was too late. Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012, a stark reminder of the dangers of resisting change. Kodak's downfall is a direct example of what happens when businesses become too attached to their old ways of doing things. Like Hem in the maze, they refused to leave the spot where the cheese had once been, and ultimately, they paid the price. The lesson here is clear. In business, as in life, resistance to change can be catastrophic. Adaptability is the key to survival, and companies that embrace innovation, just like Sniff and Scurry, can thrive even in the face of uncertainty. Now, let's talk about the role of adaptability in relationships and communities. At the heart of any healthy relationship is the ability to adapt. Just as we face changes in our personal and professional lives, relationships also go through transitions. People grow, circumstances change, and challenges arise. The ability to navigate these changes with grace and understanding is what allows relationships to thrive. Imagine a long-term partnership where one person resists change while the other is open to it. The person who resists change might want things to stay the same. Perhaps they cling to old habits or expectations. On the other hand, the partner who embraces change might be more willing to adapt, to try new things, and to explore new ways of connecting. The key to maintaining a healthy relationship in this scenario is mutual adaptability. Both individuals need to be willing to grow, to accept that the relationship will evolve, and to embrace the changes that come with it. The same principles apply to communities. Communities, whether they're built around work, a shared interest, or even a neighborhood, require adaptability to thrive. People move, new members join, and circumstances change. The communities that flourish are the ones that are willing to adapt to these changes, to find new ways of supporting each other, and to embrace the diversity and growth that come with change. Like Sniff and Scurry, those who are open to exploring new paths and finding new ways of connecting will help ensure that the community continues to grow and evolve. Now, let's take a closer look at a case study that illustrates these principles in action. One company that managed to turn things around by embracing change is Netflix. In its early years, Netflix was a DVD rental service that competed with the likes of Blockbuster. But instead of staying in the DVD business, Netflix recognized the shift toward digital streaming and began to pivot. The company invested in technology to offer streaming services, and eventually, it started producing its own original content. Just like Sniff and Scurry, who constantly adapted to the changing maze, Netflix was quick to move toward the next big opportunity. Today, Netflix is one of the biggest players in the entertainment industry, with millions of subscribers worldwide. This success didn't happen by clinging to the old ways. It happened because Netflix embraced change and adapted to the shifting landscape of the entertainment industry. The transformation of Netflix is a powerful example of the lessons from Who Moved My Cheese in action. Just as the mice learned to move with the changes in the maze, businesses and individuals alike must be willing to explore new paths, let go of outdated strategies, and embrace the opportunities that change brings. The key is to stay curious, stay open to new ideas, and be ready to act when the cheese moves. Whether you're navigating personal transitions, leading a business, or building relationships, the lessons of Who Moved My Cheese are clear. Change is inevitable, and adaptability is essential. Embrace the unknown, take action, and be open to the possibility that something better is waiting for you just around the corner. Just like the mice in the maze, we all have the ability to find new cheese, if we're willing to leave our comfort zones and explore the unknown. Chapter 6. The power of reflection and anticipation. If there's one thing that every successful person has in common, it's the ability to anticipate change, not as a looming threat, but as an opportunity. Whether you're navigating the ups and downs of a career, making a major life transition, or simply trying to stay afloat in a rapidly changing world, the ability to look ahead and prepare for what's coming can make all the difference. The key to mastering change is not just reacting to it, but anticipating it, preparing for it, and embracing it as part of the journey. Think about the first time you experienced a major change. Maybe it was moving to a new city, starting a new job, or entering a new relationship. In the beginning, it probably felt uncertain, even overwhelming. But as time went on, you adapted. You began to learn the ropes, find your rhythm, and even start to thrive in your new environment. The change didn't seem as daunting anymore because you had anticipated it, prepared for it, and gradually adjusted to it. This concept of looking ahead and preparing for change is exactly what helps people like Sniff and Scurry thrive in the maze. They didn't wait until the cheese was gone to start thinking about what to do next. They were always a step ahead, constantly sniffing the air for potential shifts in their environment. And when the inevitable change came, they were ready to adapt and find new opportunities. So, how can you do the same in your own life? How can you begin to anticipate change, rather than fear it? One powerful tool that can help you prepare for change is regular reflection. By taking the time to step back and evaluate where you are, where you've been, and where you want to go, you can start to identify potential changes before they occur. This kind of self-reflection isn't just about thinking back on past events. It's about actively engaging with your goals and your progress in a way that helps you stay aligned with your vision. Start by asking yourself, what do I want my life to look like a year from now? 5 years from now? The more you can articulate your long-term goals, the better you can anticipate the changes that might be necessary to achieve them. When you have a clear vision of where you're headed, you can start to make small adjustments along the way to ensure that you're moving in the right direction, rather than waiting for a crisis to force you to change. Another helpful tool for preparing for change is journaling. Writing down your thoughts, feelings, and experiences not only helps you process what's happening in your life, but it also helps you track patterns and trends over time. By reflecting on your past experiences and the changes you've already navigated, you can gain valuable insights into how you can better prepare for future changes. For example, if you've recently experienced a major shift in your personal or professional life, such as a job change, a move, or a breakup, take some time to write about how you felt during that transition. What were your initial reactions? What fears did you face? How did you ultimately adapt? By exploring these questions, you can gain a better understanding of your own patterns when it comes to change, and use that knowledge to anticipate and better prepare for similar changes in the future. Visualization is another powerful technique that can help you anticipate and prepare for change. If you can visualize yourself successfully navigating a transition, you'll be much more likely to embrace it when it happens. For example, if you're thinking about making a career change, take some time each day to imagine yourself thriving in your new role. Picture yourself handling challenges with confidence, learning new skills, and finding success. The more vividly you can imagine yourself succeeding, the more likely you are to take the necessary steps to make that vision a reality. But anticipation isn't just about reflecting on the future. It's also about building resilience in the present. Change can feel daunting because it often requires us to step outside our comfort zones. And let's face it, we're all hardwired to resist discomfort. But the truth is, the more we embrace discomfort and stay open to new experiences, the more we build the resilience we need to handle change. This is where staying agile comes in. Being agile means being flexible, adaptable, and ready to pivot when the situation demands it. It means being curious about new opportunities and willing to take risks, even when they don't feel comfortable at first. It's about developing a mindset that views challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats to stability. One way to stay agile is by cultivating a sense of curiosity. Ask yourself, what am I learning today? What new skills can I develop? What new ideas can I explore? When you approach life with a sense of curiosity, you're much more likely to embrace change and see it as a chance to grow, rather than something to fear. Another key aspect of staying agile is developing a mindset of continuous learning. In today's fast-paced world, the ability to adapt and learn new things is more important than ever. The more you invest in your own personal growth, whether through formal education, self-study, or learning from others, the more prepared you'll be to handle whatever changes come your way. Staying agile also means being willing to take small, incremental steps toward your goals. Change doesn't have to be overwhelming. Instead of trying to make a huge leap all at once, focus on taking small, manageable steps that will eventually add up to big results. Whether you're making a career change, embarking on a new project, or trying to develop a new habit, break it down into smaller, actionable steps. Each small step you take will help build momentum and confidence, making the process of change feel less intimidating. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about how you can actively prepare for change in your own life. I want to challenge you to create a change readiness plan for yourself. A plan that will help you anticipate, prepare for, and navigate future transitions with confidence. Start by asking yourself, what changes do I anticipate in my life or career in the next year? Write down any potential changes you see coming, whether they're major transitions or smaller adjustments. Once you have a list, think about what steps you can take now to prepare for each of these changes. For example, if you anticipate a job change, consider updating your resume, networking with professionals in your field, or acquiring new skills that will make you more marketable. If you're planning to move to a new city, start researching the area, making connections, and finding ways to ease the transition. Next, think about the mindset you want to cultivate as you move through these changes. How can you stay open and flexible? What strategies can you use to manage fear or uncertainty? By proactively addressing these questions, you'll be better equipped to handle whatever changes come your way. Lastly, take some time each month to review your change readiness plan. Assess where you are, what progress you've made, and what adjustments you might need to make. Change is constantly evolving, and your plan should evolve with it. By regularly checking in with your plan, you'll ensure that you're always one step ahead, ready to tackle whatever comes next. In the end, anticipating change and staying agile is all about mindset. The more you reflect on your goals, stay curious, and build resilience, the more prepared you'll be to navigate the unpredictable maze of life. So, embrace the power of reflection, stay open to the unknown, and remember that the next opportunity might just be around the corner. It's not about avoiding change. It's about anticipating it, preparing for it, and making it work for you. #outro. Finding your cheese as we bring this exploration of who moved my cheese to a close. It's essential to reflect on the core lessons this simple parable offers. The story, while allegorical, is a powerful reflection of the journey we all face in navigating the complexities of change, whether it's in our personal lives, careers, or relationships. The maze, filled with twists, turns, and unexpected challenges, mirrors the unpredictable nature of life. But it's the cheese, the representation of what we desire, that keeps us motivated to keep moving forward, no matter what obstacles lie ahead. Change is inevitable. It's a constant that no one can avoid, whether they're ready for it or not. The key to thriving in this ever-evolving world is not just about enduring change, but embracing it with open arms, much like the characters Sniff and Scurry, who adjusted quickly to new circumstances, and Haw, who eventually found the courage to let go of his fears. It's about adopting a mindset that sees opportunities in the face of uncertainty and trusting that, no matter what happens, you will always be capable of adapting and finding your way. But the real question is, where is your cheese? What is it that you're truly striving for in life? What's the goal, the dream, or the fulfillment you're chasing? We've all got our own unique cheese, whether it's career success, a meaningful relationship, personal growth, or something else entirely. The critical part is knowing where it lies and being willing to go after it, even when the maze seems daunting and the cheese seems far out of reach. Now, I want to challenge you to take a moment and think deeply about your own cheese. Reflect on what truly matters to you. Are you clinging to outdated beliefs or old habits, afraid of moving forward because of the fear of the unknown? Or are you ready to venture into uncharted territory, knowing that the path to success, happiness, And fulfillment is not always straightforward, but always worth the journey. What's holding you back from embracing change? And how can you take a small step today toward finding your cheese? Whether it's updating your resume, having that difficult conversation with a loved one, or simply shifting your mindset to embrace new opportunities, the time to act is now. The longer we stay stuck in our comfort zones, the more we risk missing out on the very things that could transform our lives. Think about it. If Ha, despite his fears and hesitations, had never left the safety of his old routine, would he have ever found his new cheese? Would he have discovered the true value of change and self-discovery? Would he have realized the power of shifting his perspective, of venturing into the unknown and learning through experience? In many ways, we all face this question daily. We face a choice. To stay where we are, in the familiar, where things may be comfortable but ultimately stagnant, or to step into the unknown, embrace change, and find the new opportunities waiting just beyond our comfort zone. Let me share a final story, one that beautifully encapsulates this journey of transformation and growth. It's the story of a young woman named Clara, who had spent years working in a stable but unfulfilling job. Clara's cheese was financial security and the peace of mind that came from knowing she would never go hungry or face uncertainty. But she wasn't truly happy. She felt stuck, uninspired, and unsure of how to break free from the comfortable, yet limiting confines of her daily routine. One day, Clara came across a copy of Who Moved My Cheese? It struck a chord with her, especially the part about the need to adapt to life's inevitable changes. She realized that, like him, she had been resisting change because she was afraid of losing what she had. But more than that, Clara realized that the fear of the unknown had been holding her back from pursuing the career she had always dreamed of. Something creative and fulfilling, yet unpredictable and risky. It wasn't an easy decision. It took Clara months of self-reflection, journaling, and conversations with close friends before she took the leap. But eventually, she left her corporate job and started her own design studio. It wasn't instant success, but over time, she found that by embracing her fears and stepping into the unknown, she was able to find her true cheese, the fulfillment and passion that had eluded her for so long. Clara's story is a testament to the power of embracing change, even when it feels terrifying. It's proof that when you let go of the fear of what might go wrong and focus on what could go right, you open yourself up to incredible opportunities. Clara's cheese was never about a steady paycheck or a comfortable routine. It was about doing work that sparked joy and allowed her to express herself creatively. And by moving beyond the comfort zone she had clung to for so long, she found something far more rewarding than mere security. She found purpose. So, as we close this journey together, I leave you with this question. What will your next move be? Will you choose to stay where you are, or will you venture into the maze? Ready to adapt, learn, and find your own cheese? The path may not always be clear, and there will be moments of doubt and uncertainty. But just like Sniff, Scurry, and Ha, you have the power to navigate the maze, embrace change, and come out on the other side with a life that's not only full of success but full of meaning. Remember, change is not something to fear. It's something to anticipate, to prepare for, and to use as a springboard for greater opportunities. The maze is waiting for you, and the cheese is out there, just beyond your comfort zone. All you have to do is start moving.